All right, everyone. Vineet sends his regards. Unfortunately, he was pulled away to another meeting, but luckily we have our vice chair here, Khair, who's going to cover all of this wonderful content for this today's Business Club MAC meeting. We have a lot to cover, and I know, Khair, you probably will say it many times as well, but we welcome all of your feedback. I'm going to be taking a lot of notes today, and so please feel free in the chat or raise your hand or get Khair's attention, and we will gather all of your feedback on this World Trade Center Business Club template. Okay, Khair, over to you.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm filling up for my chair, Vineet, and he's been so kind enough to actually draft this guideline for Business Club. So the outline of this draft guideline for a business club starts with the vision, the mission, the objectives, that why should we have a business club, what is required in a business club, what activities, collaborations, what are the operating excellence that we could probably have in the business club. So we've tried to cover a very wide breadth and width of a business club, of a World Trade Center business club. So starting with why should we, what is the vision of a business club? The vision is basically that we need to have an exclusive networking club. And who is it for? A global business community that would help our members, the members of the club, to connect globally and prosper locally. So all the fundamentals of the World Trade Center, a networking club for the businesses in the region, in the local region, and that we could help them with the advantage and the strength of the global network. And our mission is that we actually encourage and motivate within the fraternity of the WTC members to have more business clubs. We showcase the benefits of having a club, irrespective whether it is with various different models, with the physical real estate model, with a virtual model, as well as a combination of both virtual as well as physical. So we've tried to cover the business clubs in all kinds. The objective of the business club is to standardize, first and foremost, to standardize the services that are offered by the member within the fraternity, encourage more and more World Trade Centers within the fraternity to sign up for a business club service, define the club model. I mean, we realize that one size does not fit all. I mean, we have some within the World Trade Center fraternity, we have some with real estate, some with a combination of both real estate and services, and largely services. So we've tried to create the models which would get tailor-made to get customized as per the needs. In addition, assist the business club members in promoting fellowship, because this is largely that we are looking at from the club, a fellowship, which is an international fellowship being created, encourage a lot of thrust on reciprocity, collaborations and partnerships, enabling members to use the services and the facilities which are offered, going by the ideology of the World Trade Center, that one World Trade Center acts as a branch office of another. The business club then steps up. The requirement and the need for the business club comes more so if we have to actually walk the talk of one World Trade Center acting as the branch office of another. And business club can actually help us in doing that. Converting, there are a lot of World Trade Centers which are inactive currently in the network. Maybe through the business club, we could make them more attractive, more active, and include various aspects of the real estate. Considering that World Trade Center is a facility with a purpose and has got various asset class included. So how could we include hospitality? How could we use the real estate services with collaboration, some in-house, some outsourced? Differentiate the club memberships, within the network and outside the network, create value-added services for our members, for the community and the region that we are in, attract, and more importantly, create the World Trade Centers as a business and a marketing hub, and attract tenants and occupiers. In addition, create a common networking platform for business to happen. So when we are looking at creating a marketing hub or a business hub or being the landmark for the region, we believe that if we look at the objectives and meet those objectives, then Business Club could really play a very, very important role. So why do we need a business club? We need that to provide returns to the members, create a business hub, create a community where business, we network, we collaborate, we do collaboration with various entities on businesses like the club, hotel, conference services, business centers, co-working, co-living, and more importantly, have the participation with multiple stakeholders that the World Trade Center needs to be working with. One-stop shop. So Business Club would help us become a one-stop shop, working with the multiple stakeholders, whether it is tenants, investors, government, trade bodies, businesses, communities, corporates. We see that it increases and opens up the door. Plus, in addition, revenue. It also helps us in generating revenue, both for the center as well as for the association, and helps improve the member engagement. Yeah, Kristen. So there are different kinds of memberships that are proposed by us. Affiliated membership with trade associations, chambers, multiple, we could have single membership, multiple membership, and accordingly we could have the membership fee, have the subscription model, we can have the honorary members, we can have complimentary members, we could have memberships for corporates, for tenants, for overseas members, for temporary members. So there is a wide range of memberships that can be explored and accordingly customized to the requirements and the needs of the World Trade Centers. So these are some few suggestions which we have actually opted for. So there could be a one-time fee and an annual fee. That is the subscription model. Krista? Some activities and facilities, largely, that we consider are necessary. So what we've done is we've looked at what is necessary to have a physical real estate services, and what are the services that could be provided virtually and others as a combination. So, and it could be a la carte, it could be all, it could be few, pick and choose. It's a combination which we would all have to look at, that what is best suited for that region, for that World Trade Center, and accordingly we could pick up, choose that. When we are looking at a physical and a real estate facilities, within, it could be within the WTC itself, the center, or it could also be in collaboration. It is not necessary, because some of the World Trade Centers do not have the real estate. So in that case, it is the collaboration that can be explored. In certain cases, we might have the real estate and it could be all, or it could be handpicked as per the needs. Similarly, necessary would be the virtual services like B2B, B2C, meetups, exchange programs, reciprocity desks, trade desks between the countries, government desks because of the schemes and the policies, that could all be set up virtually. It is not necessary that they could have physical desks, but could be virtual. Hybrid could be, meeting, training programs, trade missions, consultancy, and the introductions, the matchmaking. Those would be hybrid. It could be hybrid, considering the scenario that we are working at post-COVID, that these are the necessary services that we could look at. Desirable, our wish list could be huge. We could have a business center facility, trade desk, translation services, concierge services, fitness center, sports center, incubation and an accelerator. Virtually, we could opt for consultancy services, some through empaneled partners who could provide various wide range of services, trade expos and virtual addresses, in addition to the business center facility. Hybrid could be expos, wherein we could have exhibition centers, conference facilities, and so on. Collaboration would form a very, very important part of the business club. Collaborations and partnerships. Not only would the collaborations strengthen and encourage the regional tie-ups and the regional trade organizations, but the members could also sign, and it gives a lot of value addition for the members. The more collaborations we have, more partnerships we have, it actually brings in more services for the members. It's more advantageous for the members. So the club service could be with the collaborations, we could help create a platform for enhancing trade services, for even having a desk at the airport, at the airlines, having hospitality sector, international tie-ups with international brands. All of these would be value-added services for the members. So these collaborations are important. And some of these collaborations could be wherein there are different models for the collaborations also, where a revenue share could be given, success fee could be given. So a whole lot of different arrays of collaborations and partnerships can be worked around. Janita, I will take your question afterwards. Let me finish, I'll take your question. So the most important aspect for a standardized business club would be the operating excellence, having periodic vaccinations, having guidelines, having manuals, working with the compliances, whether they are related with health, hygiene, wellness, audits, periodic trainings, facility management. All of those are very, very important to operate the business club, an excellent business club, which is like with a 5-star rating. So these are some of the things that are recommended for a business club operations. We could use any of the following taglines: your global address, where the world meets, gateway to the world, giving your business the global edge, a global passport, connect to prosper, go global, space to evolve, and a world of opportunities. So these are some of the taglines which we have actually suggested, but then we would require concurrence from all, because this is a guideline. So this is the tagline which would actually remain for all, because we are also looking at standardizing the business club. So consensus, democracy. So we will be sharing this guideline with, Crystal would be sharing this. We would be seeking your inputs for the guidelines. This is just a draft, but we want to formalize these guidelines so that we can start using this as a manual for the business club. We're also even looking at our second stage of the draft would be wherein we are trying to work out what are the minimal sizes of real estate? What is the minimal benchmark and checklist for the collaborations and the partnerships? How do we empanel partners? What is the checklist of partnerships that we would be looking at? And what should be the criteria of those partnerships? So that's the second stage that we are already thinking of. But in this first stage or the first draft, we would be seeking your inputs. And if you would be kind enough to actually send us within a deadline of 1 week, then we would be working on the second stage as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Khair.
Janita, you had a question.
Crystal, if you allow me.
Yeah.
Yes, I'll just add quickly. So on this stage, we are gaining your feedback, and then with the purpose of later on in the year, presenting this template to the board of directors.
Yeah.
Sorry, Denisa.
No. Yes, Khair, thank you very much for this interesting and comprehensive presentation. I was just wondering if your model of the business club has been tested, in the practice. Is everything what you said based on just theory, or your model that you think that, according to your experience, is would be the best one for our membership? So please, can you just elaborate on this? And the second question is, when I was researching and brainstorming with the European members, especially my sub-region, which is Central and Eastern Europe, they asked me the following, right, so this model, business club model, is very, very interesting for us, but why would my tenant, who is an international corporation with an international network of business contacts and so on, how could I convince him to join the business club and pay additional fee? Thank you.
Thanks, Danita. This document is largely, the credit goes to the chair. So on his behalf, I accept the thanks. But yes, all these three models are actually WTC Bangalore has it, WTC Noida has it, WTC Gift City, we are running on a similar model. And we have taken the best practices from, because for us, these are working. The physical is working, the virtual is working, the hybrid is working. And we've largely seen that post-COVID, it is a combination of hybrid. We've created a lot of value addition, but then we have a large real estate also. So for us, having a physical real estate, a physical place for a real estate, it has worked out. It has helped us create it as a business hub. So that's why I said that but one size does not fit all. That's why we've kept three models, a virtual as well, physical as well as hybrid. In certain cases, like I'll give you an example with Noida again. I'm sorry, because that's the best example I have from my experience. I do not have a conference and I do not have an exhibition facility. And I did not want to use my real estate for a conference facility because the government, just 4 or 5 kilometers away, I have the largest exhibition mart created by the government. So I have collaborated with them. So I did not feel that I needed to duplicate creating another infrastructure and compete with the government. So I didn't want to compete with the government because the ITPO, which actually looks at that collaboration of large expos and flagship events, we wanted to be a part of it rather than create our own. So we collaborate.
May a business club, yes.
Yeah.
May a business club be also virtual one? Or
see, I have a word. No, we have in India business center, which is both physical as well as virtual. In certain places, physical, in certain places, virtual. Wherever we have launched the World Trade Center and we have the real estate, there we have the physical business centers, co-working, you've got a combination. But where I just have the services, I have virtual business center services. And I've also partnered with a chain. I have a partnership with co-working chain, VentureX, I have with Insta Office. It's multiple chains that we have collaborated. So that's why collaboration and partnerships are very, very important.
Right, thank you.
Yeah.
And I think, Carlos, you had your hand raised as well.
Yes, Khair. Thank you very much for your presentation. There is a very successful business club model in Sao Paulo, and it's being reproduced in Curitiba, and it's a shame we don't have with us today the father of World Trade Centers clubs in Latin America, Luciano. But the idea of the business club that they developed in Brazil is more an association of companies that share experiences at different levels. They have the committee of the presidents, committees of CFOs, committees of different levels of the company. They collaborate a lot in NIFs and in accounting practices. So it's a virtual place. They don't have a physical facility. They meet usually in the hotel, which is at the World Trade Center, but it's not a physical facility that they have. And international trade, for them, it's not that important. They might have the contacts for someone reaching out to them to find a local partner or something, but their main strength is gaining from each other, creating a point of meeting point for CFOs, for companies, for managerial practices and so on. And that's been very successful, how to be more competitive. It's more dynamic, which places the World Trade Center as a leading, in a leading role of attracting big business. Because as Danica is saying, most of those big, large corporations which gather around World Trade Centers have their own means of going international and having contacts all over the world. So this is a different dimension which has been successful in this World Trade Centers in Latin America.
Thank you, Carlos.
Denita, I would add, what I would like to add to what Carlos said was, see, as a business center, I'll give you, I've got varied sizes of business club also. Like in Gift City, I've got a large business club, which has a business center included. It has co-working, it has training center. It is somewhere around 20,000 square feet, which has been dedicated for a business club with a lot of meeting rooms and a lounge area. You know, but then the clientele that I had in Gujarat was more HNIs. But similarly in Noida, I have just 5,000 square feet of area for a business club, because that's how, but scalable, that we could actually make it more scalable in times to come when I would have more businesses coming together. So scalability is also one of the most important aspects, because I didn't want to commit a very expensive real estate to a business club where I would have limited numbers and more coming to Delhi rather than to Noida. So I created a business center in Delhi. So I have a reciprocity with my own business center in Delhi, Noida, Gift City, Chandigarh, Faridabad. So it's a network which has been created there. And we've got lots of collaborations and partnerships. Like Gujarat does not have, Gift City for me, does not have a hospitality. It does not have a hotel. But my membership includes a hotel. So what we have done is, incidentally, Vineet's group has a Hotel Mercure there. So we've collaborated with them that, you know, our members would get X number of rooms free or at a corporate discount. And that is how we've clubbed them in the membership. So collaborations is very, very important.
Thanks, Khair. I think Jessica and then
Robin has a question. Robin and Jessica, yeah.
As well.
Yes, thank you, Crystal. Hi, guys. I will not turn on my camera because I'm not at home, so sorry about that. Khair, thank you so much for your presentation. I really like it. It's the idea that I always thought it would be great for members for the WTC facilities, because in my, I defend the idea that we need to have at least common services for all the WTCs, because if a member goes to another country and there is a World Trade Center club, this member can understand what services or what they can have paying, I don't know, a fee, an international fee for all the members. That's why I really like this idea. And I know that all the WTC facilities are different, but I think that at least common services for this WTC club must be shared for all the members. And as you said, we don't need to have real estate facilities. We can have hotels nearby or other conference, and you can have an agreement. And then when you need, you can go there and use their facilities. So it's not that problem, but we need to have at least trade services in common. This is what I think. And as Carlos said, Brazil has a WTC club service, a very good one. We can also talk to them, and at least the straight services we can have, well, ask their ideas and sharing these common services.
Thanks, Jessica. That's why standardization, we feel that there are certain services which require standardization, and it is important for the success of the club that at least one or two services are taken which are standardized.
Yeah, thank you, Khair. I think this is really good, this notion of standardization, because with prospects, that's a question that comes up quite often. What is a business club? How do we need to have one? That's another question. Do we need specific real estate allocated to it? And is there a revenue model for a business club? So having that sort of standardized a bit, I think will work very well. And just about the notion of the real estate and the question that came up that Carlos also mentioned, how diverse that can be, thinking of our friends in Eindhoven, where the business club is tied to the airport. And one of our more recent members in Puerto Rico, in San Juan, they're building, including a golf course, basically in the development, and the business club will be the golf club. So this is it's a very original model, which is a little different from sometimes what we traditionally think that a business club needs to be from an infrastructure perspective. So just wanted to share that as well.
Robin, I would like to share, I have membership, I have a very, very varied range of membership. Starts from, Indian 10,000 rupees for a startup, and it goes up to 5 lakh or 10 lakh also. In the 10 lakh rupee, I have a gold, I have a golf membership also included, because I have tied up with few golf clubs for the membership, and I have included the price in my membership. It's not that I'm giving it for free, but I've created a connect there. So collaboration is very, very important, and that's something which I've realized. We have started with the business club that I'm able to charge 5 lakh or more is largely because, and it's very, the gap is so huge, 10,000 for a startup. And our principle is very simple: access to money, market, and mentors. So I have a hero and I have a sub-hero. My hero for mentors, for startups, is mentoring, but money is the sub-hero, whereas we give them the access to money. So it's like an actor and a sub-actor, a hero. So that's how we've actually defined the membership and the services. So I would stress on more than the real estate. Real estate also, we've seen, has created a lot of value addition. I'm able to charge an extra rental from my members, from my tenants. At least I am 15 to 20% expensive than the market rental which is prevailing there. Because I have a club, because I create a lot of activity within the center that I am there, and I would give all the credit to the club.
I know we've discussed the business club model for a few years now, beginning with Ahmed and Luciano with this MAC beginning, and I think this is a good step forward. I have a couple questions for the group, but I don't want to interrupt if some of you have specific questions in terms of this template or suggestions. Was there anyone? Okay. So one of my first questions, I guess, for the group, when we start discussing standardization of services, what types of services would you expect that all members, all World Trade Center business clubs offer or are able to find a partner to offer as we move towards this model of standardization?
You want me to answer this, or for everybody to answer?
For everyone, yeah. Especially those, I think, perhaps that don't have business clubs right now. When we start talking about standardizing and everyone must offer, that I think that kind of sets off alarms sometimes. And so if you have any concerns, I welcome you to kind of voice them now as well. Would we say perhaps that meetings, that model that Khair has mentioned, as well as Carlos, in terms of bringing together like-minded professionals? I know Khair has mentioned at 20 as well. No? I think, yes, Maureen.
So I can say from our experience is in Boston, Washington, D.C., and in Dublin, the club model has not, we've tried it in all three regions, and the ROI on it has not been, it has not played itself out well for us. So we've discontinued business clubs in each of our, for each of our World Trade Centers.
And were they, was this pre-COVID where they were more physical business clubs or more for, I guess Dublin, it would have been virtual, right?
We've done both.
Okay.
So we've done the virtual model, and we have, we've also done the physical model. And again, it was just, we had, you know, put teams together to you know, activate them, and we just never made money. We just couldn't, we didn't have the right model. So so we did discontinue each of our World Trade Centers at one point or another. And some of them, you know, were started and we ran them early on, versus others have been more recent. So you know, we just haven't found the right financial model to make it successful.
Maureen, can I ask you a few questions? I mean, we've discussed this before also, but was it the viability of the project was not because of the real estate was expensive, or the member, you could not get the members?
It's a combination here for us. So in each of our regions, they're pretty saturated with members, with, you know, clubs. So whether they're, you know, business clubs or social clubs. So we're always competing with that. You know, we've been able to offer, you know, hotel and, you know, reciprocity in different locations. And we've even worked with other business clubs that offer, you know, access, you know, in different, you know, countries and that type of thing, private clubs. And we haven't been able to get our return on investment. We do have membership, but that's really for very focused on trade, you know, which you and I talked about before. But the business club has not worked for us.
You know, Maureen, from my experience, I struggled, and initially my business club, I really failed because, but probably India is slightly different. I had to actually create a network within India, you know, for my members, because largely we were targeting MSMEs, and the MSMEs were not necessarily looking at international connects. They were looking at connects within India. Like, say, for example, Delhi, a guy from the north would look at a connect in the south. So we needed to create that network of the MSMEs within India. So that's where we first started with the collaborations, because it was not possible for me to open a physical business center or real estate everywhere. So we opted for, you know, with the likes of Insta, they were also, you know, a very startup, you know, business center or a co-working space. So we took up a lot of these startup companies because they wanted the World Trade Center name or collaboration to their advantage, and we took advantage of that. You know, it was a win-win for both of us for those collaborations, and they grew up in size. So that's why that's how we created that network, and it was largely MSMEs. Then we also took advantage of the startups because they needed access to money. So we had an NBFC, a non-banking financial company, which we had actually created as a service entity for ourselves. And through that NBFC, we created further collaborations for access. So venture capitalists, private equities, you know, so that or financial institutions or banks, which could give them the access. But our club has taken up a role of being an aggregator. You know, we are an aggregator. That was the value addition which we learned over a period of time. I struggled when we looked at my first failure was when I launched the membership, and it was mere 50,000 rupees. And every year we were thinking of renewing. I fell flat on my face. with this membership. I probably got 5 or 6 members. Then we started looking at that why. What is the reason of our failure? Why are we not getting, in spite of the name WTC, why are we not getting memberships? Then that is how we created first network within India. Then we did, like I said, the hero and the sub-hero, because we thought that if MSMEs and the MSMEs require access to markets, they require access to money, and they don't necessarily require access to mentors. And if they're looking at mentors, they're looking at a very different level of mentors. So we actually tailor-made it according to the segment that we were looking at. And in India, MSMEs is the largest growing base. I mean, they were the ones who can actually look at international.
Yeah.
After this, we started looking at international collaborations. We have reached out to WTC network, and we found that the network was very lacking. To be very honest, it was very lacking. But we made up for that through collaborations in the markets that the MSMEs wanted. We reached out to the Chamber of Commerces. We reached out to the economic development agencies. We reached out to the corporates and the business centers in international markets and collaborated with them. And with each collaboration, we have a success fee. I am not paying anything unless and until there's no business happening. So my revenue model is, if I give you business, you give me a fee. So I'm actually earning out of that.
Yeah.
Based on a success fee. That's how, but I have fallen flat. For 2 years, I've struggled with my membership to actually come to that model.
Right. No, I appreciate that. We've been very successful with membership models and building networks, much like you're describing here. So, working to, partner with financial industries, much like you're doing. It's just the business club aspect of it. So our membership is growing day over day, and we too are able to financially have that be very viable, because if there is a win, we do take a commission on wins and that type of thing. So that's been a very successful model for us. And much like you, the partnerships that we've built are, they're government, quasi-government, private organizations that want to support, the SMEs that we're working with. So we found that to be very successful. It's when you expand it into the club concept,
yeah,
where we've struggled, because we find that we're competing with other entities that call themselves clubs, and they're offering different affinity programs, and that's what we haven't been able to make successful.
Maureen, to that I would answer you what we did for that. My World Trade Centers are very far off from the CBDs, because they're very large entities, so they're very far off. What we did was we created a lot of activities for our members. I mean, we forced them to come there with the activities, with the calendar of events. So, and they're really tailor-made, wherein they want to, we know that in India, the member would want to come to an event if there is a minister there, if there is a political activity happening there. So we actually got them as, rather than a celebrity, we got the ministers because they want to actually discuss business at that time, the ministers or the bureaucrats. So those have been, our cues for getting our members to the club. It's a lot of push strategy that has been used, that we've pushed our members to the World Trade Centers, because my World Trade Centers are not in CBD, to be very honest. They're away from the city. Like Gift City is not in the CBD. Noida is not in the CBD. Chandigarh is still under construction, but is Air City. But Faridabad is still very far off, from the CBD. Right. So we've pushed our members to come, but we knew they would come because if there would be a minister of a certain stature which would come. So we've actually done that.
Yeah. And we offer some of those programs in because we are in major cities. we do offer those programs in conjunction with, our partners, government partners, or whether it's a federal, local government. I think this just goes back to the point that, from my perspective, it's really important for us to offer something that's reciprocal between our World Trade Centers for our members or for our clubs, regardless of how we're defining, the structure that we've built. I think for me, that's the crux of things is, how do we put a plan together that, we're all committed to, and it creates success for each of our individual World Trade Centers. I think that's part of what you've rolled out in this plan, regardless of the name. So, I'm all for it, but I think that we have to define, I think that what Robin had mentioned, which is what is the baseline that we're all willing and can, regardless of, the type of entity that we are as an individual World Trade Center, what can we offer to one another successfully that helps us to, grow our business base. I think for me, that's the focus.
Thanks, Maureen.
I think, Ahmed, you had your hand raised as well.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Happy to see you all. Very nice presentation, Khair.
Thank you. On behalf of Vineet.
Yeah. To be concrete and with my experience, I think the main question asked by our members is how I can benefit from the WTCA network for business, for attract investment, for anything else. When I organize a conference or a seminar, maybe to have speakers from this or the other World Trade Center. I think how we can increase this kind of reciprocity and how we can, because it's a sort of deal we can have with our members and attract more members to say with the experience. I contacted, for instance, WTC Noida or another WTC, and I get answers. I started the new business with them and so on. And I think is the main question to be concrete. We have a lot of tools today to develop our business clubs with what already done with my friend from WTC now in Portugal, in Lisboa, and me, and now with what we did since you are leading the business club. But the members want to be concrete. How I can get services from the WTCA network.
See, Ahmed, this is something that we have been asking for many years now. I mean, there've been a lot of hits and misses. They've always been asking this question, and I'm actually looking at the day when we are going to have a card of a business club card. Each one of us is going to have it, or our members are going to have it, and they just have to walk through the WTCs, and just like WeWork had it, similarly on those lines, we would also one day have that. But we need to begin somewhere. Standardization, because we all are so varied and so diverse, whether it is in our services, whether it is in our real estate and everything, they're extensively diverse. So we would have to look at some minimal, if it's a physical one, what is the minimal that we are looking at? And that's what Vineet and I have been discussing. What is the minimal that we could probably look at, which could be scalable, whether it is real estate, whether it is services. But what is that minimal that we can actually say is that would define the business club and would be amongst all of us as a minimal benchmark? And that is something that we need to be working towards. Because we all are asking this question, we all have probably got the answers, but we really, really need to sit, since this is a guideline that we are setting, a manual which we are setting, so it needs to. So these are the inputs based on which that we would come back to all of you, that this is what we are from our experiences and from your industry, you also need to be from your region, need to come to us and tell us that this would not work for me in my city. This is what is going to work for me. And we have to then pick out from there that which of the services can we standardize. That's why I said that we are a long way away. We have to actually create for our partnerships and collaborations a complete checklist that who can be our partner, what is the criteria and the benchmarks that we are going to keep for our partners, what is the process which is going to be followed for all the partnerships and the collaborations. That's how the standardization would come into place. And it's a first step. I believe this is a beginning that we are actually, we've initiated this process somewhere, and at least we're beginning somewhere, and we need to take it from there. But you're right, standardization of some minimal is required. The others are all value additions.
For us, it's a sort of credibility.
We are at World Trade Center.
Regarding our members.
We have an advantage that we already have almost 330 World Trade Centers. That's our strength. That number in itself is a strength.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that we need to be working on that standardization. Whether it's, that's the reason why we've actually picked up all three, the ideal situation and the minimal situation, whether it is physical, whether it is virtual, or whether it is hybrid.
I think the most important, the most of our members, when they joined our business club, in their mind is our network.
Yes.
How I can deal with the network concretely, what I can get from the network, because when we recruit them, we explain to them that we have a network. I know Khair, I can call Anais, I can call Milan, Mariette, Crystal to get something, because we know all of us. But concretely, oftenly we cannot get anything from the network. The answers asked by our what they want, maybe to check for a speaker, maybe to check to increase the trade with this or the other country, or to attract investors, or for instance, when you organize an exhibition, to have participants in the exhibition. It's very important, and for us, we will be very proud to say, in my exhibition, I have a space for my members, for my colleagues from India or Europe. We are the only one important network in the world which can effectively have in an exhibition or in a seminar or in a conference, say, it's my colleagues from the world, from all over the world. It's very important for us, as I told you, it's a credibility to say, okay, you are a member, you can, we think globally to prosper locally, okay, but how I can prosper if I cannot contact and have no concrete answers or participation from your network?
Absolutely, Amit. And another thing I must tell you is, long time back, when there's a lot of things and a lot of synergies from the MAX itself that can be brought into the club. The MAX, whether it is the events, exhibitions and conferences MAC, they're already working on the calendar. They already have calendars for the regions, whether it's America, whether it is EMEA, whether it is MENA, whether it is Asia Pacific. That is already, we just need to pick that up, to provide that as our calendar. That's also one value addition, of global events and conferences network. Second is, I'm actually saying that what we've already done and we need to take advantage of. We already are putting in a manual, or we have trade services manual. We have wherein the trade services have taken up, they're standardizing the certain some trade services. So again, those are the things which we need to use We don't have to create everything new. It's just that the different MACs are already doing all of that. And there's an extensive work being done. So we need to actually pick and choose them for the club from those various MACs, because club is an aggregator. Let's be honest about it. The club is an aggregator of all, whether it's a real estate MAC, whether it's a trade services MAC, whether it's an events and exhibitions MAC. We are an aggregator of all of that. And we need to see how we're positioning those services being provided by those MACs and how they would benefit our members. I mean, I'm just saying some of the aspects that Asia Pacific is already using, like Rupa, World Trade Center Mumbai is working on collaborations and partnerships, how to make it a revenue model. The other day I was attending one of the MACs of the EMEA, and they already have World Trade Center Trieste and Twente already have a collaborations revenue model. So we don't have to do everything from scratch. We just have to pick up the best practices which the other MACs are actually using.
Khair, well, as everyone was saying, we have our local power, like Together companies. We are here in all our cities. We are World Trade Centers that can gather information, and of course our network, our international network. So São Paulo, as far as I know, I don't know if something changed, but they use it to have groups, sector groups. So for example, I don't know, the technology group, Microsoft was the chair of this group. So I don't know, once in a month, they use it to schedule meetings and then share information, talk about, I don't know, topics that they find it in that moment. And the power of this idea was that the World Trade Center was in all these meetings, have contacts daily or once in a month with all these companies. And from these groups, they, of course, start having business. So, oh, WTC, you can help me having contacts in this country. Can you help me? So when I was in Santiago, São Paulo was the WTC that I received more demands, because they were in contact with this company very daily or with very frequency. So what I think about standardization, I don't know if you like the idea, we can work on, but have, I don't know, 1 or 3 groups. We can select the sectors, and the WTC would be in charge to reunite and offer this kind of group for their members, their local companies, and then they can start getting together, and the WTC would be, of course, in these groups and share information. And if we have these groups in all the WTCs that the business clubs that we can have international groups, I don't know, about agriculture, about real estate, I don't know, some kind of common sector that we can select. Of course, there will be some WTC that are good in one sectors and the others not, but I don't know, we should select. And then these common groups, I also see like as a standardization about, for example, if you are a member, you can have access to one market, and you have contacts. The WTC can do a list of these contacts, schedule meetings. I think these 2 kinds of service can be standardized. The meetings about sectors, and also the internationalization. Of course, we can detail this standard international service, but having the list and having scheduled meetings, I think it will be a great start.
Thank you, Jessica. A good idea. And we can also actually, adding on to what you said, we already have the RACs, the European RAC, the Asia Pacific RAC, the American RAC. We can all dovetail. See, everything is there in WTC. We just need to become the aggregator, a consolidator. Business Club is actually, I look at Business Club as a consolidator of all that the WTC is doing right now. RACs, MACs, all of them together. The network. So we need to actually now pick up from there. We already have the directory. And Milan, I really must thank you for connecting me to WTC Dubai. I struggle with them a lot. That's one prime example that we have a great active World Trade Center, but access to them is, I only have access to through Milan, who actually pushes them. But yes, I mean, but that's how we would, the directory would help. The connect that we have in the region would help us. But then we have everything in WTC. To be very honest, I think in the network, we have the racks, which can help with what Jessica just said. We have the max. We just need to be looking at, in this club, we need to be looking at how do we become and have that dissemination of information down to, to be utilized to our advantage, to the advantage of a club for everyone. We have various max, we have various racks. LATAM has a wonderful, the way they actually have the impact report, which they actually take out. LATAM, every month or after every quarter, I believe, they have an impact report which they come out with, because most of the World Trade Centers, they have real estate. So they are actually doing that study, that report. Now that is information which we could actually share with our members. So we need to be looking at how the information from different racks and max can be, a central repository can be created and disseminated to the World Trade Centers, whoever is looking at a club, and streamline it and use it as a value addition services for our members.
I know we're running out of time, but I just want to comment. I agree with what Ahmed says, what KU said, and many of the other attendees here. I see it one of the same. It's whatever we're promoting in the business club of a WTC, it's the same marketing tool we could use for the association. And I think we need to find a way and brainstorm or workshop a few value add services for the World Trade Center constituents, who are the SMEs. And I think there are some good ideas. I'm happy to share those with you at the next meeting. But I mean, we need to figure out how do we market this in a way that it shows that it's a value creation rather than just another card to use for an SME. So I think I'm happy to share my thoughts in the next meeting.
Thanks, Milan. Yeah, I think, Khair, thank you very much for leading the discussion. I think Vineet very much would like to hear from all of you. If you have more feedback, please feel free to email me and I'll forward it to Vineet and Khair so that we can kind of gather thoughts. It sounds like we just need to pool our resources, our collective resources together, perhaps into a marketplace. So we'll talk more on ideas, but I really thank you all for kind of your feedback and the discussion today. A lot of good ideas.
Thank you so much. Danita, you had something, your hand is raised.
Oh, yes. Just one final thought. According to your experience in India, and of course we heard in Brazil, where we were successful with the business clubs, how long does it take to make a business club functional, operational, and revenue-based?
See, the easiest part was the real estate part, to be very honest, in my case. But for 2 years, I struggled. I struggled with the membership till I got the formula right.
Right.
It was out of pocket. I was in the red. My memberships were not coming. There was a lot of expense, which I converted, because if I would take the real estate cost, if I would look at the team cost, the HR cost, these were the major components. That's when we changed the model, that we do not need to keep such a large staff. We need to be collaborating, partnerships. In those 2 years, I took 1 year for collaborations, very focused approach on collaborations. I mean, for me, it was a learning, to be very honest. So I struggled with it, but it took me 2 years post. It took me 2
you were
years.
remodeling. Yes,
yes.
I understand.
Till the time I got confident that, yes, I experimented a lot. I have burnt a lot of money. Now I can very safely say that I am very profitable. I'm not just profitable, I'm very profitable. In fact, it's the bread and the butter for us now, for my services. But 2 years I have struggled very badly. I have failed.
It's kind of bringing into forefront or into spotlight these privileged services, right, for your membership. Yeah. So they felt privileged to be part of it, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
I was considered competition by the trades, by the apex chambers of commerces.
I can imagine the competition. Yeah. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you so much.
I think, Crystal, you're on mute.
Thanks, Milan. Always. Thank you, everyone. Yes, thanks, Khair, very much for leading the discussion today. Very much appreciated.